Welcome back to another episode of the Bold American Podcast presented by Barstool Sports. Coming off a very busy 4th of July weekend, we have a lot to discuss. The Epstein List came out, but maybe it didn't come out. The devastating floods in the hill country of Texas and now North Carolina as well, and the Coast Guard's response to that. We have a very cool interview. Rob sat down with a couple of wellness influencers, Ben Smith and Will Webb, fellow veterans, to talk all things wellness, some alternatives to traditional medicine. And it was just a very fascinating conversation on the approach that everyone can take to their own wellness. So very, very cool interview there. And we will finish that all up with some bold takes. Hopefully Ryan learned her lesson the first time. We will find out, and we can do better this time. And all of that is going to be brought to you by, hey, dude, guess what? This past 4th of July, we celebrated freedom the way it was meant to be. Cold drinks, hot grills, loud fireworks, and hey, dude, shoes on our feet. Because nothing says American summer like comfort, simplicity, and doing things your own way. And that's what Hey Dude is all about. We all have some pairs now, and they are exceptionally comfy. So whether you're road tripping to the lake, lighting up the backyard barbecue, hanging out down the shore, or catching local fireworks with your crew, Hey Dude shoes are ready to roll. They're lightweight, breathable, built for summer, so slip them on, kick back, and let freedom ring without your feet ever paying the price. Head over to heydude.com/barstool and step into Hey Dude country, where every day feels like summer and every step feels like freedom. That's heydude.com/barstool. All right, let's get it started. Last 72. How is everybody doing? Ryan, start with you.
Well, happy 4th of July to everyone. I did exactly what I said I was going to do last Monday. I tagged you in my egg toss con so you could get a feel for it. I watched fireworks. I hung out on the beach. Oh, we had a really cool, we did this workout for the Travis Manning Foundation, warrior workout, 8 a.m. on the 4th. We had like 300 people show up.
Wow. That's legit.
Yeah, it was very cool. And hung out on the beach, watched fireworks, and then closed down the bar with my family. So
very nice. How many years have you guys been doing that workout?
This is like our 5th or 6th year, but like the last 2 years, it's like blown up. It used to be like 25 of us down on the beach.
Oh.
It's like my friends and family. I'm like, come down. And now it's gotten like really big. It's very cool.
What do you attribute that to?
I attribute it to really like the growth of the foundation, and just more people knowing about it and getting the word out. So yeah, it was awesome. So we had a great time.
Very cool. Yeah, very, very cool. What do you guys think about the best day for the 4th of July? So this year it was on a Friday, which I think is pretty good. But I think Thursday is the ideal day, in my opinion, because if you do it Thursday, I mean, it's rare that a lot of people are going to then go back to their office and work on a Friday, the 5th. So you really get a pretty long extended break, which I think, in everybody's world, regardless of your walk of life, a good break and reset is good from time to time, or as Gen Z is now calling it, like micro retirements. But I would vote for Thursday being the best day. Do you guys agree, or do you have a different day that you think is better?
I like Thursday, and I agree with you. We actually close our offices the week of 4th of July. So everybody at the Travis Manning Foundation takes a summer break. We're like, go reset. But yeah, Thursday. I don't know if a Thursday is good because like 4th of July was on Friday, and then I went out Saturday,
and then you went out Sunday.
I even went out Sunday because my band was playing, and so I'm hurting a little bit Monday. So having it on a Thursday would have been real tough. So,
all right, we would have had an extra day in there built in for drinking. Rob, what about you?
Last 72, or are you talking day of 4th of July? Which one's better?
Day of 4th of July.
Yeah, any day but Monday, right? Honestly, don't care. I think maybe fuck it, maybe like a Tuesday, because then you just have to take the whole week off. So you're just like forced to just enjoy the whole week somehow. You just make it happen. But I guess next year it's Saturday, right? For America's 250th. So regardless,
that's pretty on brand.
Maybe just fucking roll it all month, baby. Just have fucking 4th of July, America's 250th month. Travis Manning Foundation should take the whole month off.
Okay.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
But what did you do? What did you do for the 4th? You didn't even tell us what you did for the 4th.
For the 4th, let's see. I was busy chaperoning my son around to different people's cookouts, parties, and family events.
Mhm.
So driving an 18-month-old around Vegas in like the 105-degree heat, just doing like an hour stop here and there. It was entertaining. It was a fucking workout. And I was rocking this old Tim Duncan US Team USA like 2004 basketball jersey. It was so sick. But yeah, it was a low-key Vegas 4th of July, but I probably had 10 different types of non-alcoholic beer. And I have to say, Athletic Brewing is so good.
I hear
Like,
that all the time.
No free
time.
ads, but it
If we
actually
could clip
tastes
this for
good.
later. Yeah, if we could clip this for later, Stan, somehow, like I would love if they became a sponsor. Like they have the best formula down for a near beer, and it's not even a competition. And if you have 20 of those, you could probably get a buzz, but you feel fine the next day. They actually taste good, like the different pale ales, IPAs, whatever the fuck. But dude, it was a low key 4th of July. Everyone was safe, but it's just yeah, Vegas 4th of July is interesting when it's that hot.
Sounds brutal. But also
Yeah.
with the athletic brews, like those are great to mix in like during the day. Like if you got a full day,
Yeah.
like down at the beach or on a boat or at the pool and you're hanging out for a while, it's good to mix those in. Brian, it sounds like you don't know what it means to mix them in.
Yeah,
I've only recently
true.
recently gotten into the whole like mix in something else.
No, I want to clarify. I had one drink. I had one drink on the beach. On the beach. During the day, I had one drink before I went out that night because
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I had one like seltzer on. Actually, no, I had a Miller Lite after the workout.
That's what you said last episode. You were looking for that Miller Lite. Yeah,
I had a beer after I like Michelob Ultra, but I had a Miller Lite after
Oh yeah.
the workout, and then I had one drink on the beach. That was it all day until the nighttime. So
Michelob Ultra is almost like a near beer though. That's almost like
exactly. Well, exactly. So I like to my routine is like one drink, like an espresso martini or like a vodka soda. And then after that, it's just like Michelob Ultra. Like you're never gonna see me like shit faced. It's just
Is that a challenge? Is that a challenge and search you out and find you when you're banged up?
Like I have a good time, but you're never gonna see me fall over drunk. Like that's not my vibe at all.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's a good thing to be.
Just so we're clear.
Speaking of you though, Ryan and Philly, what did you make of your boy Kelsey and all the backlash he received for his 4th of July post?
I'm going to. Can I reserve my comments on that because that actually goes along with my bold take.
All right. We can discuss that at the end.
Okay.
Then. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Rob, for me, maybe similar to you because my wife's pregnant. It's interesting how 4th of July just looks different when you have a little one and then either a pregnant wife or a brand newborn, just because you gotta, focus on your family first and you can't just be raging all day and like disappearing for the day. And I think that's just the season of life that we're at. I mean, I still had a very nice day Friday.
Yeah.
Got down the shore with my family. We were, it was actually like an unbelievable beach day on Friday.
Amazing beach day.
That's good.
Yeah, right. Because it wasn't hot and it was completely clear skies. It was like the first day that was zero humidity and it was maybe like 77, 78. It was just idyllic. I don't know how the water was down by you, but the
water was warm.
Yeah, it was very warm, very comfortable.
Yep.
So that was a really nice day. And then Saturday, one of my classmates lives out on Breezy Point, which is a part of Queens that is a tight-knit community enclave there, pretty much like Irish firefighters. If you had to say it was one thing, it's Irish firefighters. So we went there for Saturday, and then it was just overall in the story of my life in terms of 4th of July's, it was a very tame 4th of July. But it was still very, very nice.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, same here, right? Like it was cool though, being able to take my son to different events and he's finally starting to comprehend like what it's like to be social. He's starting to grasp that and walk and say hi. So taking him to different family events, seeing his godfather, who's one of our close friends here in Vegas, obviously DJ at a little party, like that was just like a cool family, low key 4th of July. We were in bed by like 8:30, slept through the fireworks because you're just smoked. You're just like tired, taking care of a toddler all day.
I tell you what, though, like in my neighborhood, just where I live, like the surrounding towns, there's fireworks that, on paper are 3-4 miles away, but 3-4 miles when you're lighting off fireworks can feel like it's a couple blocks. So
right
there were
above
fireworks going, and we're I think just below that age where you go to the fireworks, because the idea that I'm going to keep my 2-year-old up to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, like that just seems like a recipe for disaster. Maybe next year when she's 3, it feels.
I was
going to
ask
more
you
doable.
about that, how you went about it this year, and like, how you're thinking about it for next summer. But even 3, I feel like that's a stretch, right, Ryan, to stay up until 10, 11. Like, I don't know, maybe. I don't know.
I can't remember, honestly, when I like started. I honestly
I don't know. 3 even feels a little young. Maybe not next year. I don't know. We'll have to kind of like see how things go. But
have you taken her to an Army game yet, Connor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
She made it to an Army game last year, but she was super tiny, and he
Yeah.
was inside most of it.
Okay.
So nothing. But this year now, with her being able to walk and be a little bit more, I'm not going to say independent, but not incredibly dependent upon me carrying her the entire day. We'll see how that goes. But then also I have a newborn. So I think we have a couple games earmarked right now that we're going to attempt to go as a family. We'll see how that goes. I've never done a football game with 2 little children. It's obviously doable. I've seen people do it, but I don't know how we're going to do it. We'll see. But anyway, getting into the show, a couple items here before we get to the interview. The Epstein List. Apparently there was a list, and we were told forever there was a list of clients that went to Epstein Island, and Ghislaine Maxwell currently is in prison because she was convicted of trafficking humans to somebody. If she got convicted, she had to be in trafficking these humans to somebody. And now we're being told there's no list. There was no suicide, but I did see some clips today of security footage where there was an entire minute cut out from Epstein's cell. I'm not big into conspiracy theories. I'm not really a big conspiracy theory guy, but I mean, this one feels like if you just believe everything they're putting out there, then maybe you're in the market to buy a bridge from Brooklyn as well. I don't even think you have to be a big conspiracy guy to feel like you're being lied to right now. Is that the feeling you guys got?
I don't know that there's I don't feel like this is a conspiracy theory. Like something went down. We just don't fully know everything,
Yeah. Yeah. I guess though, at this point though, like I'm answering the question as I'm thinking of it in my head, but what do we get out of knowing who's on that list? I guess, can we go, you want to like bring those people to justice, obviously, but how much do we gain from knowing who's on that list? Or do we think that there's probably people on that list that don't want to be known that they're on that list?
Right? I think it's the latter. I think it's
100. Yeah, 100%. But I also don't think we're going to be surprised of who's on that list.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no list. Then now we're being told there's no list.
But the people we think were involved in Epstein Island that were like, those names are probably true.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I mean, former president Bill Gates. Yeah. It's just, I think they're going to open up a can of worms that they wouldn't be able to handle. And
who is they? When in your sentence there?
The Trump administration, but it would implicate Congress, CIA, the government as a whole, federal and maybe even state level. And I think you're going to start uncovering a lot of stuff that probably shouldn't come out, irregardless to the Epstein actual list or any sort of travel or events that took place on that guy's property elsewhere. I think they're just trying to keep it closed, and they're just going to continue to lie about it because there's just too many Too many shitstorms that could pile up out of it.
This is going to be an extremely pessimistic, maybe you could say, take. But I feel like even if it came out that certain people were on that list, they're just so influential and so powerful and have so much money that I
Spot
have
on.
a hard time believing that anything would happen to them. And then, so it's almost as though that's where I'm getting at. Like, do we gain anything from knowing who's on this list? Like, we can all kind of surmise like who's on it and who dealt with that person. Now, like the nitty gritty details of like who is engaging in those practices, I think there's probably people who were on the list engaged with Epstein who maybe did not participate in that behavior, but maybe there were some as well. I don't know. I just don't know that it would be good for our country overall to have that information, just based on who was probably involved with all
You
that.
know, I wish they wouldn't do such a 180 lie about it, and they would just say, yeah, it's just something we can't release. We know about it. We're going to go after those folks, but can't talk about it. And I think if you went about it that way, instead of the 180 from all like the Cash Patels, who I like, and some of these other figures in the administration, Pam Bondi, like the way they were campaigning on how they're going to activate or unload some of those documents, and they're not, and now they're backpedaling. I think they would have been a little better to maybe just put the Iron Curtain up, say, look, we can't talk about it anymore. Case closed. He's dead. Let's move on. I think if they went about it that way from a communication standpoint, it may have been received a little better, but also you just had all these like right-wing influencers like DC Drano and stuff go to the White House and get binders about the phase 1 approach and rollout of the Epstein list. So I kind of don't know what the strategy is here as like a marketing communications guy, but it just seems like there's so many people on different wavelengths in the administration and
Yeah.
what they're putting out, right?
Right. It's just it's not a coherent plan of attack right now. And honestly, there are factions of this country and in this world that are privy to information that the American public is never going to know and shouldn't know. I mean,
I'm okay with. I'm actually okay with it. I don't want to know everything.
I've made the joke. I've made this quote before, but from Tommy Boy when Zelensky says, you know, what the American public doesn't know is what makes them the American public. And that's true. Like we're not equipped as a population to handle the information and details that is probably forthcoming or not forthcoming, but encapsulated by that investigation. So we might just leave well enough alone and just know that, guess what? I'm sorry. In the world we live in, terrible people get away with bad things. And it's really, really freaking horrible. And that's a shitty way to approach life, I think, but that's the reality of the situation. Another harsh reality that we're dealing with right now are these floods that are going on down in the Texas Hill Country. And then I was seeing today stories about different parts of North Carolina that were experiencing flooding due to the weather down there as well. And not much to say here other than, you know, we've seen this Coast Guardsman, Petty Officer Scott Ruskin, who has been highlighted on seemingly every news outlet for his actions. And it's interesting to me. He's a young guy. He's 26, but he had a whole other career where he was an accountant at KPMG and presumably just realized like this isn't for me and shifted to the Coast Guard and became a rescue swimmer, which I implore you, if you have not, and I've been saying this now for like 9 years, go watch The Guardian with Kevin Costner and Ashton Kutcher. It's like a little campy of a movie, but it is a good look into what it's like to be a rescue swimmer. And I don't think those guys and girls get enough credit for how difficult that job is. And, you know, this rescue swimmer, Scott Ruskin, I mean, he was talking about how there was an hour flight that took them 8 hours to complete. He was setting up the triage with all the different departments that were on scene. And I think he is credited with saving now up to 200 people. Just an unbelievable show of bravery. And in every interview, he's talking about everybody else in his crew. He's talking about, well, my training took over. It's like, if you built a perfect interview in a lab, like this was it. So it's just really, really impressed by this young man and his actions, and just obviously a horrible natural disaster. And I think anybody who wants to use this as a way to make their political points is just completely twisted. But just really,
Yeah.
really sad to see coming off of the holiday weekend, all of this that went down.
You can't be, I mean, as a parent, even if you're not a parent, like the story of those little girls from Camp Mystic, it's like so heartbreaking. And you know, just to think you send your kids to summer camp for the week. And I saw that Jenna Bush was actually talking, and her mom, Barbara Bush, was a camp
So
counselor
you mean
there.
Laura Bush?
Laura Bush, excuse me, was
Yeah.
a camp counselor there.
Oh,
And
get out.
yeah. And so she was super emotional talking about it. And it broke my heart just thinking. And, you know, there's still young girls missing. And, you know, I don't think all hope is lost. I think yesterday they found 2 girls that were 27 feet up in the tree, alive. And so, like, you know, it must have been ground, like at the water level. But then when the water receded, they were 27 feet up in a tree, both alive. So that was like an awesome, you know, you needed that good news hit. But for all those families, and oh my God. And then, you know, and again, I don't want to take it in this place, but did you see the pediatrician that was fired for the tweet that she put out?
Yes, she
No.
basically blamed the Trump administration.
Yeah,
right?
so she put a tweet out and said, "May all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry. Kerr County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for. Bless their hearts." This is a pediatrician in Texas. She was fired, rightfully so. But I don't think you know, again, people use different events to, you know, make a political comment or, you know, make it political when it's not political. This was the most vile thing I'd ever read. A vile tweet. I'm so glad she was fired. It was disgusting. So I just,
yeah, I mean, you can make the arguments about our certain entities funded properly, are warning systems in place, are they funded?
yeah, but you don't
Things of that
even do
nature.
that.
But
Don't do that now. They're like, they're
Right.
still literally looking for kids.
Yeah.
Like that
Right.
now is not, first of all, never is the time for her freaking tweet. But
yeah,
like right now, like let's focus on the recovery, you know?
yeah, because at the end of the day, too, like all those things might be true, and when you sit down and do an after action report, and you might be able to mention some of
Sure.
those factors, but at the end of the day, Mother Nature is one fickle beast, and sometimes she just shows us how powerful she truly is, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And it's incredibly sad to see what happened at that camp. It's incredibly sad to think about these families right now, and what they're going through. And to your point, Ryan, you don't anticipate something like this when you send your kid off to camp.
Yeah.
So I just the over politicalization of everything. I just think those people's brains are kind of twisted right now, and there's I hope that they can be fixed, because not everything needs to be a reason that you bring politics into the discussion. So really, really sad. But you know what? Sometimes life is sad. Sometimes life is hard, and you need to focus on your mental health and on your wellness. And Rob was able to sit down with a couple of wellness influencers, Ben Smith and Will Webb, to talk through what they believe is the best approach to wellness, and some new approaches. And that interview is going to be brought to you by Barstool Golf Time. This golf season, if you're looking for an easier way to get on the course, we've got you covered, because the Barstool Golf Time app makes it easy for golfers to find the best tee times at the best prices. Stop searching all over Google for your next tee time or going through the hassle of calling courses. You can search multiple courses in your area from one app and get your tee time set within seconds. With every action you take in the app, you earn reward points, which can be redeemed for free merch in the Barstool store. We have a big promotion going on right now. Play at least one round of golf between now and July 13th through the Barstool Golf Time app, and you'll be entered for a chance to win a free stay for you and up to 7 friends at Riggs's Cottage on Pinehurst number 2. I've been there. Gorgeous home, gorgeous location right there on the golf course. The more rounds you play, the more entries you get. So all you have to do is get at least one round in, and you're eligible to win the golf trip of a lifetime. So come golf with us. Download the Barstool Golf Time app today. All right, let's send it to that interview.
All right, everybody. How's it going? I think we're on episode 20 of Bold American. Our co-host Rob, and I'm joined by my two really good friends, Ben Smith and Will Webb. What's up, guys?
What's up, dude?
What's up?
It's great to be here, Rob. Thanks for having us.
Love to
Thanks
see
for
you
having
guys.
us on.
Of course. I've been wanting to do this for a while. As you know, we're kind of a new show at Barstool Sports, but a huge focus of our brand and our mission, I guess, is Bold American, is to focus on veteran topics, mental health, America in general. So with that, I'd love for you guys to intro yourselves as my guests today for episode 20. Tell us about yourself in about, a minute or two. So Ben, we'll start with you.
Yeah, my name's Ben Smith. I live in Venice Beach, California. I went to school with Rob and Will, and then spent some time as an Army officer. Rob hit the nail on the head. My work is veteran mental health. In the most plain way, that's what I do. And it really stems from my experience transitioning out of the military into the civilian world. I was unwilling and unable to make a smooth transition. And it took a really deep and intentional look at my own mental state and seeking out tools and modalities that help me make that transition. And so now I help other people do that. So
love it.
That's about as simple as I can get.
That was really good. That was a great elevator pitch.
Thanks, dude. Thanks, dude.
But you've been able to work on that for a minute. For a while.
That's what I do for my job. So Will, take it away, dude.
And we'll get into that. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, what's up, guys? I'm Will. I also live in Venice Beach, right up the road from Ben. And
we're like 800 meters away from each other right now.
Yeah, we could tie like a string and have like a phone thing.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I was West Point class of 2013, and come from a military family. Goes way back, and that's like all, like, we just had no other option. So I was kind of like, all right, I'll do it. I want to serve. I loved it. Wouldn't change anything. And now I'm in this new chapter where I literally am like living the dream of my inner child. Like 10-year-old Will just wanted to
That's awesome.
skateboard and go surfing and like live near the beach, and it's like an episode of Rocket Power every day here. So I was like, I transitioned out of the military, took a corporate job in Charlotte, and I loved it, loved the city. But like after doing it for a little bit, I realized it wasn't in alignment with my truth. And it took like going down to Peru with Hero Carts Project and sitting in ceremony with several ceremonies of ayahuasca. And I came back and just kind of had this epiphany of like, hey, this is your entire life, from 30,000 feet, fast forward to the end. Do you want to live this life, or do you want to change it up and like do something that you want to do? And so it took like a year, but now I'm on a better path of like, I'm in grad school to be a therapist. That's my primary focus right now. My second focus is coaching veterans. So I coach with Hero Carts, and I coach with our buddy CJ through Chuxton, and then just kind of like Ben and I figuring out things that works for my nervous system and then sharing it with other people. So it started for me with teaching surf lessons, and then it got into hosting sound healing ceremonies, teaching yoga. And so kind of just mixing all of it. And I think big, like long-term plan would be buy land somewhere in Central America and run surf and yoga retreats and sprinkle in plant medicine too, and just like invite all our friends and just be like, hey, come down. Like, so one of these 10 modalities of healing has to work for you. And like, let's just figure out what helps you connect to source and find your truth. And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I love that, dude. I think you said something in your intro that really stuck with me there, where you're able to kind of be 10-year-old Will again. And I feel like I'm at that chapter too. I'm 35 fucking years old, but I feel younger than ever.
You look great.
Yeah.
You know what, dude? I think it's just laying off the booze and getting some sleep. Honestly, that cures so much, dude. Like, just not drinking for a little bit will fix your fucking life. I think.
Yep.
But on that note too, like the childhood aspect, now that I have 2 kids, I'm in a wonderful dad mode stage of my life. And I love being so present with them and like seeing like just being present with them as they build blocks or as my son builds blocks and just being like funny and goofy and silly. Like I wasn't able to do that in the Army. I wasn't able to do that after the Army when I was in corporate. It was all serious and you're worried about all this performance KPI shit. But now it's like I'm not really in that mode and I'm able to be like young Rob again and like how I was as like a youthful, probably young Will and young Ben. And it's like, even though I'm 35, I feel younger than I did when I was in the Army, guys. Does that resonate with you too, Ben?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I don't have children, but I imagine that there's this element of like getting to re-experience the world through their eyes, which is probably pretty special. I haven't had that experience yet, but it sounds pretty cool. It sounds really nice.
Being goofy and funny and like learning things again, like the way a young child learns stuff, it kind of like puts things in perspective for you. And you're like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this that I did the last 10 years. Maybe I should be a little nicer. Just stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's almost. Go ahead, Will.
I was going to say, like, applying how children learn things, how they learn language, how they learn to ride a bike. Like, it's not like they're good by default. They fall a bunch, but they're so resilient and they're just like, they get back up.
They are resilient.
And
they are resilient.
That's such a cool application to day-to-day life when you're an adult and you're learning a new skill. And it's like, that's why I love teaching surfing, because it's like, hey, this is a new lesson, this is a new thing. Just approach it with childlike curiosity. Like, don't beat yourself up. And then you get into like mindful self-compassion, and that like it just opens up these opportunities for life lessons, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up curiosity, because like in my work, that's what we lead with. I work with a lot of veterans or athletes or corporate professionals that are in a state of transition. That's like the theme, the unifying theme of everybody that I come in contact with. And to your point, Rob, the corporate world or even the military, there's such a compulsion to be like serious and professional and like tied to KPIs and metrics and performance. And this like childlike wonder or curiosity, like that's the first step to actually finding purpose, meaning, and fulfillment in that next iteration of your life. It's like you need to be curious about what might excite you. Like I get it, like to Will's point, being in the Army was the only option.
Right.
But now there's, at 35 or whatever age, there's this opportunity for you to decide what's for you. And especially in that phase of transition. And so I use curiosity as the entry point into that discovery process. And it's been my goal in the last 7 years to approach my life on a daily basis, minute to minute basis, with childlike wonder, and just to be excited and just to like, I think there's also this beautiful element of like, children are hyperplastic there. And this could like lead into our discussion about plant medicine if you want, but they're inherently hyperplastic. The neuroplasticity in their brain is just the highest it'll ever be. And as adults, it's a bit more challenging to get into those neuroplastic states. But I imagine that like being surrounded by children, now you have 2 of them, it's like they're almost like leading you into that curious, like expansive learning mode where you're getting to like relearn and re-experience, which I think is just so special and often neglected. Like I don't know that people think about like, oh, I have children and so that's what I'm giving myself, but it's like a pretty cool takeaway.
Yeah, that's so interesting you said that, because I am 35 and I've done all this stuff in the corporate world, amazing, cool, dope shit, Instagrammable stuff that you want to talk and tell your parents about and friends and make friends jealous. But like it's all kind of bullshit, right? And it's like once you have children, you're like, am I doing the right thing in my life to set them up for success too? And am I adding value to not only myself, but to them and my family and my friends? And it's like, I'm at that weird inflection point where I don't know if I want to keep doing what I'm doing professionally,
Yeah.
and maybe I want to pivot into something completely different. And jump into it feet first, because 35 to me now is no bullshit like the new 21, 22. Where like 20 years ago, guys, when our parents were 35, they kind of had to stick out that career, or they had to do what they were doing. Now I feel like what you guys are doing, how you're leading yourselves and many other veterans through stuff, I feel like everyone's kind of malleable now, and they can kind of do not whatever, but they can kind of change the trajectory of their life professionally, personally, for the better, of course. But like, yeah, 10, 20 years ago, I don't think people were able to do that, even as veterans, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just like a function of the system that we're in. Like 20, 30 years ago, the like baseline strategy was just to stay in a job for 30 years, collect your retirement and move on. And I think that like the societal frameworks that exist now, like inform this like career jumping thing, or maybe like make it more acceptable to be less stable, you know, like to choose something new. But I think also too, and you know, this ties into this conversation here, but it's like the options are less novel. It's like people understand that there are different modalities and different experiences that they can have. It's like I didn't know about plant medicine, or I didn't even know about therapy until I was 29 years old. Like I didn't know what feelings were until I was almost 30. And so like I think the best part about what you're doing and about these conversations is that we're just like trying to share that there is another way. There is another option. There are things available to you that you might not know about yet, and they could change the entire trajectory of your life. And like I'm so grateful. Like, you know, Caleb, another army guy.
Caleb
an NFL guy. Yeah. Had I not known him, it's like crazy how the universe works, right? Like I'm going through this incredible identity crisis that coincides with the most intense mental health crisis I've ever experienced in my life. And I just happen to be living with this guy who's a couple steps ahead of me on the path. And like without him and without the like teachings that he shared with me, or the experience that he shared with me, I wouldn't be on this path. And so I look at this, these conversations, the work I do, even the work that Will does, I'm just a couple steps ahead on the path. Like we're climbing a mountain and I'm like, oh wait, look, there's a handhold there. Or like, watch out for that. That rock's unstable. Like don't step there. Like maybe you tried this route. And like, I don't know shit.
I don't know shit about fuck.
I don't know anything, dude. I don't know anything. But I am really excited about sharing the things that have been valuable for me and have allowed me to step into this place where, like, to Will's point, I'm just living the life that 8-year-old Ben would be stoked to live. And I think that's such a special thing. And again, people don't know that that's available to them. You know?
Will, what do you think about that? Like when it comes to transitioning and finding what you want to do, like it is tough though, right? Because when you do have responsibilities and you have bills to pay and you have people to support, and above supporting, like making sure that they live and all that stuff, like there is kind of this like middle ground of having to have purpose, but also doing what you want, but also like paying fucking bills, right, Will? So like how do you kind of balance all that stuff with also finding your truth, but like as an Army veteran or a veteran, like still being mission driven, having purpose, but bringing in some income so you can, you know, pay for your awesome apartment and live where you want to live? Like how do you gel all that?
Yeah, dude, when you guys were talking, I had like 50 thoughts come into my head that I wanted to share. So I'm going to try to package it all.
Let's go, dude.
Yeah, like like people's living longer, right? So we're like living up close to 100 years. And so like this, you're aging and you're like in your mid 30s, and it's like the equivalent of where your parents were when they were 18, and just with the economy and stuff. Like, so, and then the other thing is like, you see this evolution in sports too, with NIL deals and transfer portal. So the idea of like locking it in for 4 years with one company or one team is no longer a thing. It's like, hey, I'm going to do my absolute best for this season and then reevaluate. And I think that changes, like, and the internet has helped facilitate like creative jobs, right? Like, you want to like paint skateboards and drip resin over them and sell them online? Like, do it. Like, do you
Yeah.
want to play sound bowls on the beach and just sing obnoxiously loud because it's a great vibe? Like, people will come. So it's like a cool, there's just choose your own adventure kind of now. But like one thing that I think was instilled in me by my dad was like, hey, like, before you let go of the branch that you're holding on to, have like a branch that you want to grab in the future. So like,
Yeah.
as you're swinging, like, have something, and then when you are ready to like risk it all and burn the boats and go all in on whatever, like, you know what you're going for. So that's helpful. I think for me too, like, there's this like law of diminishing returns with work where you're like, hey, if I just grind it out from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., I'll be more efficient and I'll get all the shit done, right? That's not true. Like, the most productive, efficient people like find this healthy balance of work and rest and balancing your nervous system. And so investing in yourself on retreats or just taking time every day to do yoga or meditate or whatever is going to pay dividends for you, physically, mentally. It's going to help you like figure out your purpose. And for me specifically, like the aha moment for me happened in Costa Rica a couple years ago. I was doing a surfing and yoga retreat, no plant medicine involved, just surfing, yoga, and breath work. And I just had the most clear breakthrough of like, okay, I need to start my own LLC. I need to use my VA benefits that I've earned, go back to school. I don't know what the destination is going to be, but I have a general azimuth. And as long as I wake up every day and walk in that direction, I know I'm going to be okay. Like, and Ben says this a lot in his breath work. You've done hard things before. So like, trust yourself. Like, you will be great. Like, all of us, all the like veterans, athletes, there's so many intersections of like that archetype where it's like, you lose your identity when you take the uniform off and you lose your purpose and you don't really have the transferable skill set. So you're kind of at a disadvantage. And you've been like such a good soldier or such a good teammate that you follow directions and you tell what your coaches, you do what your coaches tell you to do, or your boss or whatever. And so it's hard initially to like recalibrate into your internal compass and listen to like your inner wisdom. But once you do that and you learn how to like listen to yourself again, dude, you're boundless. Like, you have the drive, you have the work ethic, you have the integrity, you have all the tools to be awesome at anything that you apply yourself to. So like, that's where like, I think Ben and I just started vibing when we were like, realized we were neighbors, and we were like, oh yeah, like helping people just get excited about life again instead of being like, I'm disabled, I have 100% disability, I'm at PTSD. All right, fuck it. Forget about that shit. Move on, write a new chapter in your life. Like, that's the beauty of like what we have at our fingertips now.
You nailed it with that. I feel like, and then we'll get into like the plan and what you guys are doing specifically. But Ben, we've like corresponded about this even when we were cadets, fucking off at like 20 years old. Like, the amount of like down in the dumps attitude there is with even cadets back then, Army officers that we look up to, and then guys and gals who got out. It's just like, you see kids now for reunions or West Point events, or guys you served with, gals you served with, and like people either balloon up, they look like dog shit, they're drinking too much, they're eating terribly, they think their life sucks when it really doesn't. They're fucking West Point graduates, and like they should be, proud of that. I feel like when people get out of service, they kind of lose that purpose, and then they have to like fall into this trap of like everyday corporate America lifestyle, which really, I have family members like this, and it's like, I'm having conversations now that I'm not boozing it every night, and I'm trying to steer people in the right way. But like, how do you kind of navigate that where like you see people that aren't reaching their ability after service? Like, how do you coach people into like the right direction? How do you go about that?
Yeah, well, it's a strategy, right? Like, that belief system is a strategy. It serves some short-term gain and neglects like a long-term gain. Will talked about the azimuth or the aim, the direction that he's on. Without like this like life worth living in the future, it's really hard to craft something that serves anything beyond the immediate moment. And it's like, I want to be clear, that's like not presence. That's like being stuck in the milieu of your current situation. And like depression is real, right? Anxiety is real.
Right.
And I kind of want to like tailor this to what Will was talking about. I will go back to what you were saying, but I think are you guys familiar with this like Japanese principle called ikigai?
Yeah.
Yes.
There are 4 tenets to ikigai, and I have them written down here, so I'm going to read it. But like when looking for that next thing, ideally it would be something that you love, something that the world needs, something that you're paid for, and ideally paid well, and then something that you're great at. And if you can find that thing, Will talked about like, you know, coming back to yourself and connecting with yourself again. Maybe it's for the first time. For me at 29, it was the first time I'd ever gotten curious about what it is that I wanted to do or how I wanted to contribute
like
to the
who's
world.
Ben, right? After all this great shit you did in uniform at West Point in Indiana growing up, like who are you, bro? Yeah.
I didn't know. 7 years later, I'm about to turn 35. 7 years later, I'm just starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it was trial and error and trial and error. And to your point, we can use my experience. These guys who have been studs, like I was pretty okay at the Army.
Yeah, you were great.
It's not super hard to be really good at the Army.
If you give a shit, like you can go far in the military.
Yeah, and I cared a lot. Like I've never cared. The thing about the Army that was so amazing to me, and it shows up in different domains, right? In sport sometimes, maybe in business, but like I cared so much about the thing we were doing, and I'd look to my left and my right, and there'd be a guy or many guys who cared equally or more than I did about that thing. It's like there was inherent trust. There was trust, there was commitment, like unlike anything I've ever experienced. I've been searching for that since. You know, I feel that with Will when we work on these retreats and we're there and we're like so focused. But with this demographic, specifically a veteran or even a former athlete, they've been so wildly successful, or in their mind, they've been so wildly successful. And this prospect or this idea of having to then start over is too daunting. It's like, oh, I have to be bad. I'm not going to be the best at this thing that I'm starting.
Yeah.
Like that's been my experience where it's like, oh shit, I have to like be a beginner again.
Yeah.
I have to potentially set myself up to fail. And what I like to do work around is self-compassion. And that's most of what I do is really just finding compassion for the self and for that young kid who is trying the thing for the first time. And I think it's you know, there are many components to this, but one, it's being curious about what might interest you, and then enlisting the help of support. And I think the thing that we're missing, the veteran community as a whole is missing post-military service. We've lost peer support. It's not given to us. Like in the Army, you're just given a bunch of friends who care the same amount that you do. When you leave the Army, those support systems go away. When you leave the NFL or the NBA, those support systems go away. You no longer have a bunch of friends that are just there. You don't have that external accountability. And so it's on the veteran, it's on the athlete to go seek out those support systems. And you can imagine if I'm like a independent, self-starting, high-performing warfighter, like maybe I'm not going to be predisposed to go find those communities. It's going to be like I'm going to feel weak. I'm going to feel like, oh, I don't need help. Like I'm
That's
a big,
a
tough,
really
strong,
good point.
I'm a big, tough, strong dude. Like fuck that. I don't need your help.
Yeah.
But my work, especially with these demographics, you know, veterans, athletes, people that have been really, really, really high performing, is like, no, maybe the most incredible next step is actually seeking support from like-minded individuals. And maybe by nature of you exploring connection with people who are different than you, you might open yourself up to whatever that next iteration of your life is. That thing that the world needs, that you love, that you could be paid for, and that you're great at. Different than Will. I have not done the thing where I have something else for me. I don't know the exact language. You said like jumping off a branch to another branch or something like that.
Like a little monkey.
Yeah.
I haven't done that. I've burned my life.
Are you just raw dogging it? Are you just raw dogging it? Just getting in there?
It's a trust fall into the universe. It's like, all right, here we go.
Well, okay. So my life has been a series of monumental failures over and over and over.
You're filling upwards, right?
Yeah. But I think from my perspective, there's this inherent trust that I know for sure the universe has my best interest at heart, and I know that it will provide. And I understand the listener is probably like, well, that's fucking dumb, dude. People's lives fall apart all the time and they're not recoverable. I get it.
Yeah.
But I have full faith and confidence in my ability and also in the fact that the universe is this safe container, this higher power source, whatever you want to
It's
call it.
malleable, right?
Like
It's kind of what you put in.
it's going to work out. It
Yeah.
might not be exactly what I want, but it is for sure going to work out. And in every moment of my life that I thought I couldn't manage, I thought I couldn't handle it, I did.
Yeah. Two things.
I've done. Go ahead.
Well, the best laid plans of mice and men like fall apart, right? So like even if you have like a solid like job with a company that went from Series A to like public, and then you had equity and you had these things for your retirement, then all of a sudden it's like boom, gone. It's under, and you're laid off, and you're like, well, why did I just burn the candle on both ends for 10 years doing this for what?
Yep.
Like, how am I? And that sucks. The other thing I was gonna say, Ben, was like, the analogy that I think about with veterans and athletes when they transition out of the military is like taking a Belgian Malinois service dog to a dog park. This thing's been cooped up, been trained, been on deployments, been on missions. It just knows how to attack. It's like a heat-seeking fur missile. And then and then you're like released back into the general population of the world. And it's like, how do you make friends? How do you just be comfortable with chilling at the dog park with no agenda?
Yeah.
That's daunting. Like,
I think the sitting around thing is huge. Like, I still have issues of like, if I have 6 hours of nothing to do, I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do? Like, I can't, or then like I've done everything by a certain time of day. I just don't know how to chill sometimes. And I still have that, even though I consider myself a pretty chill dude, but it's like, I still have this like innate sense of urgency. And I don't know if it's like the way I was raised by a West Pointer. And I'm not knocking it, but like then going to West Point, then deploying, then being corporate, high performing op tempo corporate at Amazon. It's like I still have to catch myself and be like, everything's okay, dude.
Yeah,
it's just a Tuesday. It's okay, but I still have that. I still have that hard time.
Well, that is the.
And you say that a lot in this moment.
That is the.
I have everything I need.
Yeah, you have everything you need, and I'm obsessed with, I'm not religious in any form, but I am obsessed. People call this prayer, I think, but like I'm obsessed with these mantras, and they're anchors throughout my day. We could talk. I'm also sober, and so my sobriety practice and my navigating that experience, I have many anchors throughout my day. Some of them are like behavioral, like movement based. Others are thought based. But I have these mantras all over my house, and my favorite one is that in this moment I have everything I need, and if I do nothing else for the rest of today, it will have been enough. And that kind of like serves that idea that the universe will provide. Like, what I can do is all I can do. That kind of idea.
Yeah.
And you hit the nail on the head, man. It's like that practice of being like, hey, it's just a Tuesday. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm good. That's the work.
Yeah.
That's letting your nervous system recognize that like there is no imminent threat. Like, yeah, there's time. There's white space on my schedule. I could be doing something, but like maybe this is just an opportunity for me to sit in that discomfort and not do something.
And like, just as kind of compulsion. Myself.
Yeah, to be more intentional with your time or with your energy even. And to reference my experience, leaning into those moments of boredom has been so incredibly valuable for me. And I look at we all have, those of us who facilitate plant medicine and run these retreats, we all have a different language that we use. But I see the plant medicine experience, or even these like moments of boredom, as intentional opportunities for rest. And if you've got an individual, maybe like you, who was raised by a West Pointer, who spent several years in the military, then entered the corporate world, and they've never really had this opportunity to rest, and rest separate from this like imminent threat that exists on the back end, where it's like rest can just be for rest, an opportunity to connect with myself, maybe explore the things that I actually desire, that life worth living, who knows? But like, I see plant medicine as an intentional opportunity for me to just rest and witness my experience. Like, not that there needs to be any, just there's no deliverables, there's no outcome.
Right.
It's just an opportunity
The
for me to
outcome is
be
doing.
here.
The outcome is
The
just
outcome,
being present and
just
going through it.
being.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just right
For
here.
once.
Maybe for
Yeah.
maybe for the first time ever.
Yeah.
I'm just right here. And so Will and I, it's been really incredible to work in tandem with Will because we approach it differently. We have a different background. We have a different,
Mhm.
our experience individually with plant medicine has been different. And
Mhm.
so, I come from more of like this coaching directive. I've been a strength and conditioning guy for almost 20 years. Like there's always an
Yeah.
outcome. And so there's like frameworks and a bit of like structure.
Right.
And my experience of Will is it's this like very free flowing, like shamanic,
Yeah.
literally just creating a compassionate container, which is so incredibly valuable. And so together, when we come together, I'm taking parts of Will, and Will, I imagine, is taking parts of me. And selfishly for me, these moments are the only time where I'm not thinking about me. So
Mhm.
it's been incredibly valuable. And I imagine, Will, I don't want to speak for you, but I imagine that there's this like feeling where it's like I'm purely just a conduit. Like I'm
Mhm.
literally just a vessel. And it's like I don't exist anymore. And I'm not saying that every veteran needs to go facilitate plant medicine, but to find opportunities to continue to be of service is another really incredible way to navigate transition. It's like
Yeah.
if I'm depressed and I'm anxious and I'm
Yeah.
like you referenced, if I'm stuck in my shit, if I intentionally step out of it and give to my community, to my partner, to those outside of me, maybe I can gain a new perspective. And that's what facilitation and coaching work post military service has done for me. It's allowed me to step out of my shit.
Yeah.
If you Google the most anxious dude that's ever lived, my photo probably pops up.
Yeah.
And it's like in those coaching moments, I finally get to separate from that. And so it's almost funny. Will and I have had this conversation, but like I don't really participate in plant medicine anymore. I
Mm.
have a 7.5 year relationship with it. And it's been valuable. It's
Yeah.
provided me context in a way that like I wouldn't be able to access it on my own. It's given me that opportunity for rest. It's allowed me to connect with myself. But my medicine now is creating that safe, compassionate container for others to navigate the same thing. And it's like, so the medicine for me, or the journey for me, is in facilitation, not so much in the actual experience, which I think has been pretty cool. And
Mm.
also it shows there's transition that
Yeah.
exists beyond just leaving the military.
Yeah. I had a couple thoughts about one thing you said, Rob, was
Yeah.
like shadow, okay, when you sit back and you have 6 hours, it
Mhm.
could lead you to examine your own shadow. And I
Mhm.
love this Swiss psychiatrist, Carl Jung. He's like
Mhm.
it's funny too because his name's Carl Gustav, and I always think of the Carl G in the military. But he like I just saw a quote today about it. He's like, a lot of people will go to great lengths to avoid ever facing their soul. And I
Mhm.
think when you stop, you get hit with all the things that you've been compartmentalizing into the rucksack of your soul that have been
Mm.
demanding to be seen, felt, heard, lived through, breathed through. And it is terrifying to people. So instead, they just keep doing stuff. They're like, I got to go to this yoga class. I got to go sign up for this workshop. I got to start my own business on Shopify, whatever,
Right.
just take up time. And so that is one cool thing that I've seen with plant medicine is it's like prolonged exposure therapy, but you can get there
Mm.
with other ways, yoga,
Yeah.
breath work, sound
Right.
healing, other
Just
things.
putting your phone down. Just,
Yeah.
maybe just going to the beach. So tell me about, Will, tell me about what Truxton is, the mission. Tell me how, walk me through as like a veteran, as an American who's not familiar with what the mission is of Truxton and like plant medicine and how it's aiding and help vets. Kind of expand on some of that.
Yeah, Truxton is the name of a donor and a former lacrosse player from West Point who built like the locker room or the team house at West Point. And so CJ, our buddy, who is class of 2016 or 17, I can't remember, but he named it Truxton because it felt like this safe getaway spot for him from being able to just take off his uniform and get away from the stress and chaos of West Point for like an hour a day and have that community, that locker room feel. And so I think for him, his company is is designed for building community and helping people just live like the best life possible in the next chapter. And so like we all are, you know, living our own dharma. We're on our own path. We have our own lived experience. And so what like united myself, Ben, and CJ was that like we all had a similar journey of like service, time at West Point, career-ending injuries, battling through mental health and suicidality, and like figuring out that maybe the Western paradigm of treatment is not the one-size-fit-all Band-Aid to help people holistically. And like, so CJ's basically was like at Wharton doing his MBA and was like, I don't want to do the finance track. I don't want to do the like stair stepper trajectory that every veteran gets told they need to do, or that inherently like you kind of pick up on because you're like, all my friends are doing this. I should be doing this too.
I need to go get an MBA or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. So he stopped and paused, and he actually had his own. I don't want to share too many details of his own story, but like what he shared with me over at a bonfire at one of the retreats was like, you know, he had this come to Jesus moment at the VA with the doctor where he looked at his prescription medications and was like, brother, if you keep taking all of these medications, you will die. And like these contraindications are going to slowly kill you. And he was like, I can't tell you this officially, but like I would highly recommend that you look into plant medicine as a modality. And he like stomped his foot. And CJ like left the VA and was like, what do I do? Like, what does that mean? There's nothing here in the US to like help. So there's all these like generous nonprofit organizations like Heroic Hearts Project and others that like are sending vets overseas to sit with these ancient original medicines that are not the unconventional option. They're the original medicine. And like he found his healing through that. And so did Ben and I. And so like we were kind of like, how do we help people with this? And so it's been cool to kind of just do trial and error of like what works. And what we realized is that a lot of it is just like people live in isolation and they need community. And then you can sprinkle in holistic wellness elements. Like Ben loves ice baths and breath work, and he teaches and coaches people through that. I love yoga and sound healing, and I teach and coach people through that. One day I would love to do it in a place where we can offer surf lessons. But yeah, I think the whole mission, and it's been really fun to see the intersectionality, like I talked about before, of like retired athletes and retired veterans, because we have so many of the same issues: traumatic brain injury, the identity loss, the lack of like direction and purpose, all of these things where it's like, oh, they go together so well. Like our friend John, who came on one of the retreats, former NFL player, like he brought so much awesome energy to it, and it was so relatable to the veterans. And they're like, you know, we didn't experience that, but like we had similar experiences where we could all kind of relate. And dude, it's been amazing. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. And I'm sure Ben has his take too on his experience and how it's been for him as well.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah, well, I think Will nailed it. That is what Truxton is. I think from a more like global viewpoint, my personal intention here is to rewrite how we manage veteran transition or transition as a whole. Like we're providing a service that is novel and that is wildly valuable to our community. And like I said earlier, the goal for me is just to proliferate this message, is just to share on the loudest speaker that I can about how valuable this has been for me and, you know, for Will and for CJ. My experience may be a little bit different than Will, but my exit from the military was due to injury and just no longer wanting to participate anymore. That mental health crisis that I navigated in 2018 involved me attempting suicide a handful of times. And that was the impetus for my sobriety and just this like curious time where I was open to exploring any and all options, because the only other choice was to no longer exist. Like suicide was the only other option for me. And I think that there's an important thing to share here where it's like, it doesn't have to get that grave.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to take it. You don't have to take it there. And you don't have to let it get so bad. And so my hope is that just through conversations like this and through our work with Truxton and the word of mouth network that we're building, the ecosystem that we're building, people that like might not understand what we do will be curious enough to pursue a retreat or some of the coaching options that we have. I really appreciate what Will was talking about with like how this has been helpful for us. Like we can only speak from our experience, you know, and I just feel very lucky that I was exposed to what I was exposed to when I was exposed to it. Cause I don't know how it would have gone. It would have gone exactly the way it was supposed to. But I don't know what would have happened. And my hope is just that we can meet people where they are and provide a solution or a strategy that serves them now and allows them to step into that life that's worth living. I, it's hard to sit here, and especially like, working with the VA and working with the structures that are in place now and recognizing that like there are so many people who aren't getting the care that they deserve and aren't getting the solutions that they actually need. Kind of to Will's point about CJ taking all these medications, like those doctors are trying to do the best they can. But if you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
And if we can just expose people to not endless, but new modalities that might be helpful. Like for Will, yoga isn't my jam.
Yeah.
And I don't enjoy it. For other people, it's the thing that saves their life.
Yeah.
I like getting into a cold bath. I love that.
Yeah. You've always been like that since I've known you too. You've always done this like not, it's almost like obtuse. It's like things that work for you, but maybe don't work for 98% of people. Like that's kind of been you since I've known you in a great way, where like you kind of know what sets you straight.
Yeah. Well, and I think
a lot of people don't know it.
Right. Well, and I think exactly.
Yeah.
And so this work is an opportunity for them to maybe be curious about what might work for them and then to lean into those things. And I think that there's this assumption that it's like the thing that's going to work for me is going to feel great.
Maybe not.
It never feels great to get into a cold bath. Never.
Yeah, right.
I've done 2,500 of them in the last 8 years. Like it never feels good. But on the back end, the version of Ben that exists is so much different than the dude prior to the 3 or 6 or however many minutes in the cold. And so I think that there's like a level of expectation management where it's like this process of learning about yourself and stepping into that next embodied state or whatever it is, like it's going to be the hardest thing that you've ever done in your entire life. And it's a lifetime effort.
Yeah.
Like it's not there's no easy button. It's no like one-time fix. It's not a single retreat that you have over 4 days in Joshua Tree. It's like these experiences.
And then you're fixed. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not. You're definitely not. Also, there's nothing to fix.
Right.
Like we're just presenting an opportunity for you to gain or evolve a new perspective. And then from that new place, there is an invitation for behavior change. And I think what often gets lost, especially around plant medicine, is like, I'm going to drink my ayahuasca. I'm going to take my psilocybin. I'm going to use this MDMA, and then I'm going to be different in a second.
Yeah.
And it's like the work actually happens. I talked about neuroplasticity at the beginning, but we just create a neuroplastic state where learning and evolution is possible. And so it's during the time of hyperplasticity when your brain or your body is actually able to receive new inputs that you can affect new change. And it's on the individual with the help of a support network. Like with Truxton, we provide additional support during this integration period, but it's like, it's in that period post ceremony or post exposure that you can actually affect behavior change that changes your life. For your life to be different, you must become a different person.
Yeah.
And I think if I have a frustration with the space that we're in, it's like that these modalities have been deemed like fix-alls or like one-time exposure changes your whole life. And maybe for a small percentage of the population, that's true. Like I go do a 3-day ayahuasca ceremony. My view on the world is completely different. Or I do DMT and like I've experienced collective consciousness and like I now feel different. But like in my experience and in my experience facilitating, my personal experience using plant medicine and my experience facilitating, this is like the entry into a lifetime effort.
Right.
It's like the work never ends. And I think like for most of us, like I don't know about you guys, but like when I look at that, I'm like, fuck yeah, that's exciting. It's like this is a thing that I can show up yeah, I can show up every day for this thing, and I can be, like, really intentional and really, like, to your
Mm,
point, Rob, about being, like, uncomfortable with resting. Like, I look
mhm,
at you as, like, a forward center of mass guy. Like, you're leaning forward, there's an objective to hit,
mhm,
you're going, and you're going, and it's like, I've just changed what that target is, and the
mm,
target is, like, this internal self work or this relationship that I'm fostering and developing with myself. And Will brought up Young, like, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes ago, but I shared this earlier. But one of my favorite Young quotes is like, I'm going to butcher this, but it's like the greatest pursuit of all is learning who you truly are, or like
mm.
knowing who you truly are. And I think plant medicine just opens up this opportunity for us to actually explore what that is. And then from there, we can make choices that serve that thing.
Is
Yeah.
there anything being done to fix the stigma about plant medicine? Like, how do you guys
Yeah.
view that? And like, Will, could you talk to some of
Yeah.
maybe some of the tactics you're doing or that you're seeing in the veteran
Yeah.
community that's being addressed? Because like, if you talk to my
Yeah.
dad, other folks, there is still even in
There's
corporate, there's that stigma about
yeah.
plant medicine, and I'm
Yeah.
just curious, like, what you guys think about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just at the psychedelic science conference in Denver
Saw
last week.
that.
Yeah, it
Great
was awesome.
Instagram story series. You were putting out some fire content.
It was awesome, man. It was cool to like meet people in real life that I've
Yeah, yeah.
But they had a panel, like an all day dedicated to veterans, and they had a panel with Marcus Luttrell and a couple
Yeah.
other Congress people and senators, and one of the VA lead people that have been like running the MDMA assisted therapy stuff. And so, yeah, the VA is doing their part. Like they're doing breakthrough research trials. I think that some of the studies they've done before already have shown really positive ratings for treatment resistant depression when you give somebody ketamine assisted therapy.
Yeah.
It's like an 80% efficacy rating, which is amazing. And they're doing more
Wow.
research with MDMA and addiction and with psilocybin and different things. So they're doing it. And I think there is a preponderance of evidence that's being produced from double blind tests with MAPS and what they're doing with MDMA and with just other Onaya Science down in Peru is doing a 5-year longitudinal study that's sponsored by the UK government, and
Wow.
it's seeing how ayahuasca affects veterans with PTSD. And they're measuring brain scans. So they'll put an EEG on you like while you're in ceremony and look at your brain. And then they're testing your saliva for DNA, and then they're testing your stool for your gut biome. So their hypothesis is that ayahuasca changes your gut biome, and like your gut microbiome is like your second brain. It affects your mental health significantly. It changes the way that your DNA expresses itself. So what we already know about epigenetic inheritance is that you up to 7 generations prior, if someone in your lineage experienced a traumatic incident, it can get passed down through the DNA.
Wow.
And then what you experience is you have more of a likelihood of developing anxiety or depression or alcoholism. And so it's like no question when you look at indigenous people in America that were uprooted from their homes, like why do they struggle with alcoholism? Because like 7 generations ago, like they were being murdered and pushed off their land, right?
Yeah.
But the research is all showing like that these things are ameliorating all the trauma and helping people to like rewire their brains, not only like neuroplasticity but also neurogenesis, so like creating new neurons in your brain. Which is awesome for traumatic brain injury, awesome for athletes.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I took away from psych science was it doesn't, for some people, they just need the emotional connection. They need a human who has lived this to sit in front of them and share their story of transformation. And so Marcus Luttrell, who's a former Navy SEAL and a member of Congress, when he gets with his colleagues who are very stigmatized against because they grew up with the war on drugs and they grew up in a very conservative home, he'll sit with them and be like, hey man, like I'm living proof. Like I went down and did Ibogaine in Mexico and great. I'm sober. I'm way better. I'm a better husband, better father, better public servant. And what I loved was hearing all the veteran stories from Heroic Arts Project and from my friend Diego, who runs this nonprofit called Warrior Side. So they're training people to tell their personal stories of transformation. And it's like 10-minute like TED Talk style. So
Okay.
you'll have like from start to finish, somebody will share a transformative event. And man, like, I mean, I was moved to tears multiple times hearing
Wow.
veteran stories, and they're just so relatable. Like, my friend Izzy was sharing her story about suicidality, and like, and sorry to get graphic here, but the last thing before she was going to pull the trigger, she had a gun to her head. She saw her red-nosed pit bull, like Duke, staring at her face to face, and she was like, I can't do this. And I thought about my own 2 dogs, and I was like, I've been there. I've been low. I've been in the place. Like, we all have like those moments where you're like, you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you want to make an impulsive decision. And man, I just like cry. I just started tearing up, because it's like, a lot of times, like, yeah, you can kind of manufacture data to support whatever hypothesis you want.
Right.
On both, we see that in like the media now. Like, if you watch one side, you hear one thing, and you watch the other, you hear the other. The truth is somewhere in the middle. But like, what does indisputably like convince people about this is stories, like personal stories of transformation. And I've experienced that with my family too, because we grew up evangelical Christian. They believe in the power of prayer, and they're very like wary of mind altering, consciousness expanding practices. And so when I was like afraid to tell them that I was going to Peru with like a legit, nonprofit, like with Heroic Arts, I finally like told them, and it felt like I was like telling them that I was gay. Like, I felt that like that it was almost like I'm coming out of the psychedelic closet in a way to like share with them that it was just like, hey,
How did they react?
They were skeptical at first. Before I went, they were like, we'll pray for you. Are you sure you want to do this? This is drastic. And when I got back, they just saw the transformation, and they saw like the peace and the equanimity, and how so many of my symptoms with my daily, I mean, I battled like daily migraines, back pain, gut biome, like, I don't know what you would call it. Like
indigestion almost, maybe just like, yeah.
And I came back and was like, dude, I feel so great. And the coolest thing for me as like a religious person was like, I felt like reunited with God. Like, I saw God, and it was like, hey, Will, all those prayers you prayed as a little kid, I heard them. Welcome back. Like, we missed you. You've been here the whole time. You're invited all the time. Like, come back. And it was like this reconnection to my faith as a kid. And it was like, wow, dude, that couldn't have happened if I just continued to do whatever I was doing. So I'm all for it, man. And I think like, I think the 2 big like pockets of the population in the military or in society are like the very religious people that are opposed to it for religious reasons, or people who grew up, as a police officer family, or like in the military, where like drugs are illegal and you don't touch them, and so you're just a good rule follower, and you bought into the war on drugs thing. But I'm optimistic for where we are in 2025 and moving forward, that like we've kind of already like opened up Pandora's box. Like, it's out there. Like, you can buy mushrooms at stores in Venice now, and like weed has been legal for 10 years. So like, if it grows out of the ground, like I'm gonna promote it. Like, I don't know about all the lab created stuff, but like, if it's like a natural thing that like that Mother Earth is producing and it's helping people mentally, like, I'm all for it.
Wow. Yeah, it's I'm just trying to take that all in. It is, I think we're at a point now where 10 years ago when we were in the military, just even going to behavioral health was seen as a red flag, right? Even if you had to go, like, just to check the box, or you're out processing from a unit, or, I had to go to behavioral health because I self-enrolled in ASAP, the alcohol substance abuse program, when I was a second lieutenant.
Yeah.
And I remember my battalion FSO in 2013 hid that from everyone else in my unit. He told me, just say that you're going to an appointment, you don't have an addiction problem, and you're going to go and just knock it out for those 9 weeks you have to go. My battalion commander knew, I knew, and my boss knew, who's a West Pointer. He's a lawyer now. He's doing great. But we didn't want to let my soldiers, like, we just didn't want to get out, because then that could have jeopardized my career as an artillery officer.
Yeah.
Then maybe deploying, right? And so, but I think now in the military, the stigma might still be there, but it's not as egregious, or it's not as intense. Where if you're going to seek help for something, soldiers probably view that as a positive. Maybe
Yeah.
leadership views it as a positive. Hopefully, I'm not in the military. I can't speak to it, but I like to think that that is changing. Now, you don't want to over-index too much, where then, you have a leader who's constantly seeing behavioral health. That's probably not the best solution either, right? To being in charge of troops in combat environments, but maybe it's all relative. But I do like to think that we're going in the right direction for active duty, troops in the line. And then obviously inverse to that in the veteran space, where, to your point, what you just saw with Marcus Luttrell and dignitaries or folks from the VA that are preaching that they're looking into these alternative substances and behavioral traits, hopefully to help veterans. And yeah, I wonder where we're going to go in like 5 years, Ben. Like, where do you see this by like 2030? Like, and then we'll close on this, guys. Like, how do you view the next few years of the plant medicine landscape shaping the veteran community for the better?
Yeah, well, I think to like close out Will's point, you asked about like how do we remove the stigma? And
Yeah.
I think you're spot on, Will, that like there is I don't know the right language, but a more like the research is valuable. Like that's going to
Mhm.
allow us to get funding to build more research and more data behind the valuable components of these modalities, and allow us to prove their efficacy. But I think really, if we look at it from like an individual user perspective, we need to create relatability and like make it aspirational. And that really comes from like proximity. So like seeing yourself, like I think that's the value in Truxton. I always joke, do you remember that like streetwear company Fubu
Yeah.
from like the
Yeah.
90s and 2000s? For Us
Yeah,
By
yeah.
Us, it was an African American made clothing brand that was for African American consumers. Like that was like their model. And I've been joking that like Truxton and some of these other companies that do similar things to us it's FUBU. Like it's for like everybody that's in that
Mhm.
room. It's just Will and I.
Mhm.
Like all of those participants are us 10 years ago. Even if
Yeah.
they're older. Like they're us, but just maybe farther down that mountain that I mentioned at the beginning. Like
Yeah.
there's a different experience, as a veteran or as an athlete. You go to a plant medicine ceremony and it's run by a shaman that maybe doesn't necessarily align. His experience is different from yours. You don't really understand what he's trying to get at, and maybe he doesn't understand you. Whether it's explicit or not, like that's a felt experience, and there's
Mhm.
lack of safety. Often, that's been my experience. There's like a lack of safety, and so I think programs like Truxton and some of these others, Heroic Hearts, is one that sticks out. But it's like I am you, the
Mhm.
guy sitting across from me in the ceremony. And like if there were going to be a person who could create that relatability, maybe even that like aspirational feeling and even this like intense feeling of safety, like I'm the guy that's going to be able to do that for you. And so I think that like, through Will's point, sharing stories and experience and being able to show that like this is the thing for you. And maybe it's public figures like Marcus Luttrell.
Mhm.
But it's probably not going to be the data that gets the individual user to participate. The data will inform funding, which I think is so important and so
Right.
necessary. It'll inform policy. But for like even to your point, like I listened to your story about the ASAP program and enrolling and keeping it secret, and I'm like, oh, we missed such an incredible opportunity to show your soldiers that
Mm.
like this is
Strength.
available to them.
Yeah.
It's a strength to be like to stand in your discomfort, in your like I don't want to say problems, but like
Mhm.
to be open and vulnerable about your experience and show them that like one, it's okay, but two, that there are opportunities for them to make better choices or
Yeah.
to sort through what they're experiencing. And so I see us as like that, where we're like, hey,
Okay.
PSD Jones, like I'm not perfect. I've had
Mm.
these experiences. I've felt the way that you're feeling. I've navigated my life similar to the way that you're navigating your life. and like I'm taking an active steps toward changing that. You don't need to keep your shit in secret either, you know.
Yeah.
To answer your direct question about like where do I see this going, I think that legislation needs to be passed so we can proliferate this thing
Mhm.
and like really make it like, 'cause scaling this is challenging
Right.
given the legality of you know where we're able to operate and how we're able to provide resource. Like the thing that gives me pause is like, okay, we need some decision makers to support the work that we're trying to do. And my hope is that experiences like this can be a first step
Right.
versus like, oh, you've tried everything else. You've
Mhm.
tried everything else. You're
Now
on
come
15.
to us.
Yeah.
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 Oh wait, you've had this issue for how long? Oh,
Mm.
fuck, dude. Okay.
Yeah.
Like my hope is that it's like it becomes so commonplace that it's like, oh my God, I'm feeling these things. I'm having these experiences. And just like it would be, you know, getting that prescription or seeing the therapist, it's like, oh, the other thing, you know, on an equal playing field, it's like, oh, I'll pursue this because all of my friends have had a fantastic experience. Or that dude that I look up to, fucking Marcus Luttrell.
Yeah. The
His
man,
life
lone
is hit.
survivor.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
dude that I have his poster on my wall or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if Michael Jordan's doing the thing, maybe I should do the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where we're gonna get, where there's gonna be like aspirational figures, public figures that are promoting the work. Like it's happening in small doses, but I
Mhm.
think it just like through the process of it growing by word of mouth and by referral and then
Mhm.
ultimately being facilitated through policy change and legalization, I think it just becomes like a common thing. To Will's earlier point about like the hyper religious communities that might be against any mind altering substance, or the far more conservative communities that are like against drugs altogether, it's like their perspective is shaped by a lack of information and a lack of understanding. If it's different or scary, it's bad.
Right.
And my hope is that just through conversations like this and through just continual commitment to the work, that we're able to change the narrative and people can understand maybe through the data, but maybe just through learning by connection with other people that like it's not bad. I mean, while it is different, it might not be
Mhm.
bad, you know? It might even be
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
I think that's important. Like the just because it's different or it's not the status quo or it's not what you've been programmed to doing and listening to and hearing about doesn't make it bad or wrong. And I think to your point, I think it is word of mouth. You as a marketer, you know, growing it, grassroots, bootstrapping it, and then meeting those key stakeholders, decision
Yeah.
makers, the right politicians,
Yeah.
those politicians that are our age, maybe a little older, that are able to understand issues at the bottom, right? Like
Yeah.
the top politicians in the Senate, Congress probably aren't the right ones. They're worried about bigger issues and committees and
Yeah.
shit like that and war and Israel or Iran, whatever. But I feel like I think in the next few years and having the secretary of the VA on recently, just
Mm.
hearing how they're approaching the veteran stigma and treatment issues is great to hear. I don't think we heard that in the last 6 to 8 years.
No.
And like the willingness to change and adapt for our veterans is even in a time of peace, right? We're not technically at war. We have troops forward deployed with SF groups and SEAL teams and certain conventional forces overseas in Syria, whatever. But like we're not at a scalable conflict, right? And so I still
Yeah.
feel though that like training environments, just putting on the uniform can expose you to potential traumatic events and
Oh,
obviously
for
just make
sure.
it tough, right? It's a
For
tough environment to
sure.
live, regardless if you're deployed or not. So
Yep.
there are still going to be lots of veterans, and I feel like you guys are leading the charge in some of that. And I want to help you guys as much as I can, and hopefully some listeners are taking this away and understanding what awesome work you guys are doing, Ben and Will and Truxton and CJ from the rear right now. But is there any way for listeners to learn more about you guys individually, and then Truxton, if Ben, if you want to start, like where can people
Yeah.
find out about you and your mission?
Yeah, I'm on the internet.
I'm on MySpace.
I'm on the internet. My social
Yeah.
medias are Ben V Smith, BenVeeSmith. My website is benvsmith, same spelling.com. Um, Before I talk about that and how to access me, what you're sharing, I think is so important about it, like starting with this word of mouth grassroots initiative that we're like presently working on. And I think just like to tie this all together, at the very beginning, we talked about transition and staying curious. And I think that there's this incredible invitation when you're presented. It doesn't have to be plant medicine, it could be anything in your life, but when you're presented with something you don't know about, there's this opportunity to stay rigid in your perspective and think,
Mhm.
oh, I don't know about it, so it must be bad. But
Mhm.
or there's this opportunity to be curious and explore what this thing that you don't know about might be able to afford you. And this specifically, this work, this plant medicine work or this healing work is one of those things where I see a lot of rigidity. And I'm hoping by having this conversation and sharing our experience, we're able to just like maybe chip away at that rigidity
Mm.
and open up the space for people to be a bit curious about it. Um, I
Love that.
myself I myself individually do, you call it life coaching for lack of a better term. I'm also in grad school, like Will,
Yeah.
to do more clinical work. Um, but yeah, I run a coaching program. The focus is nervous system regulation. We didn't really
Mhm.
get into that on this podcast, but the state of your nervous system is the lens through which you view your entire experience. And so my goal is
Mhm.
to help you build capacity in your nervous system. A lot of my work specifically has been with touring musicians. So
Yeah.
creating a space for creativity and curiosity while navigating the stressful experience that is music touring. I'm stepping away from that and working hard to focus solely on the veteran community and men's coaching. But if you're interested in learning more, Ben V Smith on Instagram and benvsmith.com is where you can learn more about that. Yeah, I'd love to
Love it,
connect.
bro. Love it, bro. Will?
Yeah, thanks for having us on. I could talk about this
Of
all
course.
day. I want to come back and talk more about nervous system
I
stuff.
No,
Yeah.
let's do it again. Let's do it again. Maybe in time for the holidays when people need some shit to listen to, they can listen to
Yeah.
us fucking jack around and fuck off. But
Or they need to calm down around their families.
The
Yeah.
stress around
exactly,
Thanksgiving
dude.
and
That's
Christmas.
it.
Yeah.
That's the episode. That's it.
Yeah.
Come listen to Ben, Will, and Rob talk about family stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Go ahead,
oh,
Will.
well, I like thinking of like if I could boil it down to 3 points, it would be
Yeah.
get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yep.
It's okay to ask for help and stop acting so small. It doesn't serve you or the world.
Yep.
My friend Dan, our classmate, told me that the other day in breathwork.
I love that.
But yeah,
Shout out
I'm
to Dan.
online. Yeah, my Instagram is _Will_Webb. And I have a website. It's elevatedventuring.com. And
Awesome. And you
yeah,
just
so I have
launched
an
it, right?
LLC. Huh?
You just launched it?
Yeah, I just gave it a whole facelift. So I'm
Cool.
selling these t-shirts to like Heroic Arts was like, hey, make your own t-shirt and like bring it to the Psychedelic Science Conference. And I made this one and it just like has all the
Nice.
things that I love on it. And then on the back it says you are the medicine.
Nice.
Ultimately, like I don't know if you can see it, but like that's
Yeah.
the goal. Like you realize like you are the medicine.
Mhm.
So I'm selling those and a couple other things, but like a portion of all the proceeds is going to go to Heroic Hearts Project because it's an organization that I really believe in. It's like helping veterans and spouses.
Yeah.
So the secondary PTSD is a real thing. So if you address the veteran, it's helpful to also address, help their spouse and their family as well. So yeah.
Love it. Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Will.
having me
Thank
on.
you guys anytime. And I'm so happy we were able to do this. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Again, you'll see some content go out over the next few days and weeks, which will include Ben and Will if you want to connect there on socials. But as always, please like, subscribe, follow. Thanks, everybody. We're out.
All right. Well, thank you to Ben and Will for sitting down with Rob to discuss their approach to wellness. Rob, what was your big takeaway from chatting with those fellas?
Yeah, just like the amount of different tooling you have at your disposal coming out in terms of mental health, everything from the VA to, physical fitness to plant medicine. It's cool to see how they're pushing legalization too for ibogaine and some other substances in the U.S. and just seeing the benefits directly firsthand, and not just plant medicine either, just like simple practices, yoga, meditation, sound baths, all this kind of stuff that Cons really likes. But it's just cool to see guys and gals just trying new methods instead of hitting the bottle and doing some other really bad stuff, to themselves to try to help levitate and kind of help make life easier. So, and I've known Ben and Will for maybe almost 15 years now. Great guys. Will's a former Green Beret. Ben's a former Army Ranger. So great guys doing cool shit to help veterans.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, we appreciate them coming on, and I really do appreciate the new approach, because can't just do things the same way the same way as you have for all time. You got to evolve with the times, take new learnings, and apply them to your own life. So very, very cool to hear from them. So thank you very much. All right, let's finish up here with some bold takes. Last time, Ryan, you had a little bit of a challenge with this segment, but hey, it's new. We all have growing pains. We're going to try it again. So bold takes of the week. Ryan, floor is yours. What is your bold take?
Oh my God. The pressure feels like
you got this.
Right now. Okay. So you asked me earlier about Jason Kelsey. Jason put out a tweet basically just saying, the 4th of July is one day where we can all come together. We can celebrate our freedoms. We can appreciate, America. And he got shit on for it, which was so crazy. And I saw a lot of other posts that were similar to that were kind of like knocking America on the 4th of July. I saw like videos about the song "I'm Proud to Be an American," Lee Greenwood, and people had changed the lyrics to it. I don't know if you guys saw that. So I started to and it leads into kind of this trend I've been seeing where it's almost like flashy to not love your country, and that is such a scary thing for me to even think that there are so many people that are rallying behind this idea of not loving the country they live in. And so my bold take, and I've said this before, but my bold take is that we need mandatory service in this country. At 18 years old, we need 1 year of hard ass service, be it civil, military, disaster relief, something. People need skin in the game. They need to understand why this country is important. And if you don't like it, get out. But I think if people are required to do 1 year of mandatory service and really you're all in, it's going to change perception a lot. So that's my bold take. Mandatory service in this country. You live in America. You don't just earn America by being born in it. You earn America by being a part of, keeping it free and prosperous. So was that bold?
No, that's a good one.
Okay.
You did better this time. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I think it's fair too. And it doesn't have to be, like you said, it doesn't have to be military service.
No.
There are a ton of different ways to serve the country. And I think just even doing 1 year of that would give people perspective that would last them a lifetime.
Totally.
So I like that. And my biggest problem with what people were saying about Jason Kelsey, they were like, "Oh, your privilege, your white privilege, and your wealth, and your privilege is showing." It's like,
get out
Jason
of here,
Kelsey, he didn't come out of the womb born into a trust fund.
Yeah.
Right. This guy went to Cincinnati. I can't remember if he walked on or not. Maybe he earned a scholarship later. He was a fullback. He switched positions.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He worked incredibly hard.
Yeah.
You don't become one of the best players, arguably the best player at your position in the NFL by accident. He's well respected by all his teammates. He was a captain. He's a Super Bowl champion. Everything he has, he's earned. Totally. I don't know of a more American way to have money than to earn it through hard work. And yes, don't get me wrong, playing a game relative to other ways to make a living is nice, but it's still a lot of hard work and a lot of discipline and sacrifice that he had to make. So the idea that people want to cut him down for being grateful for all that he has is just ridiculous to me.
They're fucking losers, dude. They're fucking losers.
Yeah. You know, our country, and I've said this before, our country's not perfect. We have our warts, but it's still the greatest country in the world to live. And there's a lot of data that can back that up, black and white. But I don't need data to know what I see in front of me and what I have and what I'm grateful for. So I like that take. Rob,
really
what's your bold?
Yeah,
What
I
is
would
your bold
almost.
take?
It's so I'll just add to Ryan's take. I almost think it needs to be leveled up and it has to be compulsory military. Because the military.
Not everybody can serve in the military. It just
I know,
you know,
I know,
so
but
I
it's
think that's-
kind of like I'm
it
kind of
just-
looking at it from like the Israeli model where there's still civil service. You can still wear a uniform. There's still maybe units or organizations that you can kind of be a part of. But like, I love your take though about like the uniform, the service, the discipline. 12 months, 18 months, probably 18 months, probably too long. Maybe 10 to 12 months, probably warranted. But I'm kind of bullish on bringing back a draft almost for all males. That's probably a whole nother topic or episode we could go down. But I mean, up until what, 1975, we had a draft, right? Like, let's kind of bring that sucker back. But my bold take is, I don't know, I just feel like men are just becoming such pussies in this country. My bold take is we need to start like finding people or giving out citations for motherfuckers who leave shopping carts in the parking lot. I think it's so trash. Like, it's such trash behavior. I don't know if it's just a Vegas thing. Please, people, like, respond back to this podcast in the comments or something. Let me know if you're seeing this. But like, I see this at like Whole Foods, like good grocery stores, like people just leaving their shopping carts in the parking lots. I feel like that needs to get fixed.
I don't think that's that bold of a take. I think most people
Really?
No. I think that's everybody gets annoyed by that. Now I'm going to criticize all your bold takes too.
That's fine, Ryan. That's what this is for. That's good. And I also don't think we should bring back the draft. I don't think that's beneficial. Because I think it's important to let people serve in other ways and not just the military. I think it's important because not everyone's built for the military. I mean, because here's the other thing too, like you get a lot of people in the military who don't want to be there, and then that becomes a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
The military is hard enough as it is with people who choose it for whatever reason they do choose it. So now if you throw in a bunch of people that really don't want to be there, that'd be a scary proposition.
So you don't think that if someone joined a civil service where they're helping out old people or wearing a uniform or doing something in a hospital, that they're not going to get bored and be complacent and pissed off about that too? I just feel like the military is so vast, where if you look at the numbers or even have some sort of like reserve status duty, I feel like it's easy and it might toughen up the country a little bit, but it's kind of a wild take.
Okay, maybe that can be your bold take. That we should bring back the draft.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that shopping cart one was not good. Damn. All right, here's my bold take. I think, and I said this recently on social media, I think 23andMe was the biggest scam of all time. The fact that people spit in a tube, send it off to nowhere, and then just take whatever they got back and just took it as gospel. And they're like, well, yeah, that makes sense. And then, I had a lot of people come at me and say like, well, no, I actually traced this. And I just don't believe that. And I'm pretty sure they're going bankrupt, or they already did go bankrupt. But I always found that to be a little fishy. If I spit in a tube and it comes back with all these different percentages of what I am in terms of my nationality, like, how am I going to dispute that? I don't have ways to test that in my home.
Have you guys done 23andMe?
I've never done it.
No, because it's a scam.
Yeah,
I never waste the money.
To me.
I've never done it, but I know a lot of people have done it, and like it always comes back and it's like you're Eastern European. Like, no shit.
I'm 10% Scottish.
Yeah, like it's like you're Irish. Like, okay, got it. So
It's kind of genius for the guys who started it, though. I mean,
yeah, but now they're going bankrupt.
I had someone give me a 23andMe, and I never did anything with it. And I opened it up like a year later, and it was expired. So I'm glad I never did it.
Yeah, no, they filed for bankruptcy a few months ago. Yeah, it's because they're a scam. And honestly, like, that's another thing. If you are very willing to do 23andMe, I have a bridge I'd like to sell you. I think if you believe all of that as gospel.
Well, you know the conspiracy theory on 23andMe, right? It was like the government was collecting your like DNA, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
all these people were like, don't do it. Yeah, don't do it.
So, all right. Any caveats? Anything we missed?
I have a caveat that lines up with our interview that we did, and I wasn't going to share it, but I thought, you know, in the spirit of being transparent, and also talking about, Rob, like you talked about how there's so many resources out there for veterans. I just recently decided I got to get back and get some therapy in my life. And, you know, I'm in like a weird time in my life, and I'm like, it's time to go back to therapy. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give Headstrong Project a try. They're a great partner of ours at the Travis Manning Foundation. I know you guys have cons, you've talked about them a lot and done stuff. And so I went on, I filled it out. I put I was a Gold Star sibling, and 24 hours later, I got a response, and I've got an appointment on Wednesday, and the process literally could not have been easier. And so, you know, to our military connected community out there, you know, if you look at the civilian population, like trying to get access to mental health care, it can be really challenging. I think in the military community, we're really, really lucky for the resources that we have and are afforded to us in that respect. And so if there's somebody out there that is thinking about, but it's just like, you feel like the barrier's too hard, and it could not have been easier. And I got a link. It was like, fill out and click on the calendar. And I'm like, great, I got an appointment tomorrow. So
awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Had you done, and if you don't, sorry if I'm prying, had you done therapy before?
I've done therapy, but never through, and I have not been in therapy for a very, very long time, and nothing in like the military space. I was just like paying out of pocket. After my brother died, just like paying out of pocket, because I don't think there were resources like this that were as easily accessible, you know, 15 years ago. You know, and honestly, it got too expensive. It was just like, all right, I can't keep affording to pay like $400 a pop. So
it's such a shame that it's so cost prohibitive. It really is, because
and I practice so much like therapy, because I enjoyed therapy, and I'm always like, therapy's great. I'm a huge advocate for it. And then I was like, you know, just recently I'm like, shit, why talk about it? Like, why not? You know?
Yeah. I my belief is this. It's awesome, but I think everybody has to treat it differently. Like, some people probably benefit from doing it consistently, maybe for the rest of their life, like once a week or once every other week for the rest of their life. Maybe there's other people who, like, you go in spurts, and
I think
that works for you.
I think I'm that type of person. It's like when I'm in a place of like transition or change in my life or struggle, like I know when I need it, and I need someone like guiding me, and, you know, and I shared with a couple friends today, and they were like, yeah, that's a great idea, you know? So
yeah, no, I can't say enough about Headstrong. It's like,
so shout out to Headstrong. I mean, could not have been easier. So headstrongproject.org, head on there. You literally put your name and veteran, active duty, Gold Star, and you get a text message back in like 24 hours. So it's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Rob, anything?
Go see the F1 movie if and when you can.
Is it good?
It's fucking awesome. As a marketer who worked with F1 for 4 years, it is so dialed in. It was shot over 2 seasons, Brad Pitt, 61, 60 years old, still doing it. It's not a movie. It's like a fucking race. You're in it. Go see it in IMAX. It's awesome. It's good acting. All the drivers are there, the constructors, the principals. You're in it. You'll become a fan. There's some subtle nuance that you'll pick up on if you're an F1 or motorsports fan. They used an F2 car, patched it up, fixed it up to make it look like an F1 car. Some stuff you'll pick up on. But
I didn't know there was
movie.
F2.
There's F2, F3, and F4, baby.
Wow, I didn't know any of that.
Yep, that's why I'm here. Yep.
Right.
But no, but also the therapy thing, Ryan, I commend you on that. It's not easy to talk about. I'm super proud of you for doing that. I think everyone should go seek therapy. Is that the right thing? At least once or twice in their life. I think it's important no matter how resilient or strong you think you are. And I think you doing it as the the leader of Travis Manning Foundation speaks a lot. And I think more people need to hear that. So
I think if you're a veteran and you're just like, you've never done it before and you're just like thinking, you're kind of curious, you're on the fence, just do it. Because guess what? What's great about Headstrong, it's not going to cost you anything, number one. Yep. And number two, if you don't like it, they're not going to, put a gun to your head and say, you better be here next week. You could just stop. I mean, and, maybe you find another path to your wellness. But just
even sometimes just that first session, people just need to get shit off their chest. I think so the first time I ever went to therapy was during the Afghanistan pullout. I had some issues because I never deployed to Afghanistan. It was tough to see all that stuff happen, but I did, I think 3 or 4 sessions, and that was what I needed at that time. And you know what, maybe in 5-10 years I'll go back, but I think to each their own, but well done, Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Last thing, my caveat, Ryan, what the heck is going on with your city? Why is there trash piling up in Philadelphia? It's like Philadelphia, things can't get too good for too long before they have to stub their toe and say okay, everybody come back and make fun of us some more. Why is the trash piling up in Philadelphia?
There's union strikes going on or something like that. Yeah, there's some sort of strikes. I don't know. I wasn't tracking it too closely because I was down at the shore, but I saw the mayor giving a press conference saying come on, we got to end this. And LL Cool J was supposed to perform this weekend. And then he was saying he wasn't going to. I don't know if he actually did. I was tuned out, but yeah, I mean, it's just it's typical city shit, It's not just Philly. Come on. It's not just Philly.
They found a Doritos bag from the 70s.
Yeah. That's the one thing I don't like about the Philly people going to our beaches and down the shore, just all leaving trash like that from the 70s. That's horrible.
Yeah, okay.
It's horrible. Whatever. All right, that's gonna do it for us for this week. I feel like we have a lot more to talk about, but we'll get you back next week. So in the meantime, take care. Make it a great week.